Hey guys, a lot of people have been asking if the Delhi build order on my YouTube is still valid, and I've got it in front of me here. We're gonna watch it. It's from release week of Age of Empires 4. I don't exactly remember it, so I want to see if it's still valid. So let's clone ourselves and see if it's still valid. Let's listen up. Reacting to the past build. I'm going to rush my opponent as fast as I can, but while keeping in mind that it's going to be a high value, strong punching rush. Not something very quick, but the quickest possible that I can make it with the build order that I made. It's going to be heavy on upgrades from a single town center. I want to worry about secondary town centers later on. For now, I want to keep that part a little bit more simple, as there is already enough to learn when it comes to a new game. Now, Delhi Sultanate is a 3 out of 3 difficulty as per Age of Empires' advisory. They are special in that they mine very we can skip this part, I think,
than other factions. And when you build mills...
We know Delhi now. Let's go to the build order and see what's up. So we're doing a H3 rush. Now, I remember thinking this probably won't be good in the future of the game. An H3 elephant rush. But I did know that I'm also making this build order for people that are new to RTS potentially. And therefore, I wanted to give something simple. And I think I was proven right, because in the weeks since, a lot of people have asked, why second town center? And for, you know, any RTS experienced player, the benefits are obvious, just like it may not be obvious to me other things that they know. You know, I'm not saying you're dumb if it's not obvious, but if you've played a lot of RTS, it's obvious that extra town center gives you bonus economy scaling. So I know what I was doing making a single TC build. So let's take a look at this. Okay. And let me turn off the chat here for a second. We start with 250 wood. I want to see that build order one more time. We start with 250 wood. The first thing we do is a mill, and we start wheelbarrow immediately upon finishing. This is still good. And nowadays we actually make a mosque as well at the same time, so we can start those upgrades, and oftentimes even a lumber camp in order to start the forestry upgrade immediately. And the second thing we're saying though is making a mining camp and then a mosque. I remember having that delay. It doesn't really seem to make sense anymore, because you've got wood to start all of those at the same time, so you start all of those at the same time. And in fact, we're delaying mining camp so that we can start lumber camp. As you see, I'm saying get 50 wood, then do the lumber camp. Nowadays we do it the other way around. We do the lumber camp here, mill and lumber camp mosque. And I say 1, 2, 3, but it can pretty much be instant. And I want to see how I do it in the build order. And then the next 50 wood gets the mining camp. And you catch up on gold. You end up having a feudal of about 3 minute 20. So it's slower than, let's say, French, who starts feudal at 2 minute 20. It's 1 minute slower than French. But you've got all those economy upgrades that are free starting. So then we say, okay, a house, that makes sense. Villager production, Dome of the Faith, all correct. No, don't spend any gold, just mine 100. Then take all off and put them onto wood. And leave 2 on gold during H2 tech. This allows... Okay, so I already knew that 2 villagers gives you scholar production non-stop if you leave 2. We're not doing any stone management. And then have a second mill at berry finishes. Oh yeah, I wanted to get all of those economy upgrades starting simultaneously. So I went for 2 mills. I don't do that anymore. And then it says barracks when H2 finishes. I wanted to get the spearman upgrade just in case. And as you reach H2, double blacksmith. So this is really greedy long-term orientation, but it's going to make you lose out any fights that are in feudal. So this is too slow. I was kind of aware that it might be too slow back then as well, but I really wanted it. I wanted those juicy, sweet, free upgrades in the blacksmith started immediately. Extra mosques, that's still true. Extra barracks, extra archery range. That's all true as well. And then we're looking to max scholar production and go H3. So not too bad overall, I would say. Let's listen and look at the rest.
I just want to make a note on placement here. This is not the full, clean, quick playthrough. I just want to give you the rundown of where that 250 lumber is going to be going through and the placement of your buildings. The first thing you're going to be doing is going to be making a mill as close as possible to the berries.
That's still true.
And I'll show you soon in the real build order how that goes. You're going to be making a mining camp next to the gold, as close as possible.
Yeah, good job.
You're going to be having your mosque connecting the two, making sure that the orange area is connected. That's how you'll know that they are connected with an influence area. I want to make sure that both of these early ones are connected, and that's going to increase the research times and bring them down a bit.
Increase the research time. Decrease.
50 lumber is going to be going to a house. This house should not be blocking any important areas, but still be close enough so that you have a small economic loss by not having to walk too far with your villagers.
I now
You're
leave.
not immediately
I now
going
like to leave 2 gaps between the town center and the house for future farm placement. Though it is a bit further walking, it can be worth it.
After that, you're not going to be mining any lumber for the time being. The solution.
Okay, just
the
kind of
first
fast
250,
forwarding here and
you
checking
leave
out.
a lot of.
That was the placement guide. Now let's look at the actual
Alright,
build.
at the start, I like to put every villager on a sheep while seeing, hey, where are the bushes? I'm going to build a mill there. I'm going to take one villager to start it and another one to help him out.
Or her.
Out. Okay. I'm going to be taking a few sheep back home. And then I'm going to take 3 villagers and send them to mine from the bush. This is important because bushes start with 250 food and then they double when you finish
Idle villager.
your they double when you finish your mill, which means if you mine too much from the bush immediately, you'll be actually depleting double of its future capacity, and this isn't very nice.
That's true.
All right, now we're going to be mining with 6 on food here, 5 on food on the bush, 1 on the sheep to finish its body so that other civilizations can't use certain techs
Professional scout sheep heist.
to actually
Someone warned me about
steal
that.
away the corpses of our sheep.
It was
That's why we're
actually
gonna finish this sheep here.
not a concern.
79 food.
But who knew?
The moment our mill finishes, we immediately want to start wheelbarrow upgrade. We're gonna start a house now as well.
Still getting used to the
This is,
hotkeys.
1 or 2 seconds too late. We're gonna have 2 on gold, so the one that is finishing the mosque is gonna go to gold.
Sanctity.
I'm gonna be scouting around with our scout. Okay. And then we're gonna go to
Yeah. So it's better to do the lumber camp first, like I said.
everything else goes to
And
food.
then the gold
So
camp.
2 on gold for a while. And then the next villager at 12 food. We're gonna
Either
send
your
it to
villagers,
gold.
then get
So we
house.
have 2
Got
on
it.
gold and then 3, and the rest is all on food. We're gonna immediately start sanctity upgrade
Yeah.
when the mosque finishes.
Nice.
And that's how we want to do that. Note that we have no lumber and we're looking to get to 400 food and 200 gold as quickly as possible and preferably in a synchronized fashion. 3 on gold is enough. The moment that
Actually,
this gold reaches
not opening lumber
3900,
camp.
you can actually take back
I think
all
at
the gold
least it should be a
villagers.
build. It should at least be a consideration. The way that I'm opening here, you're getting a bunch of upgrades right away, but you still have an early feudal. It should at least be a consideration. Right, so I'm gonna start my tech now at 240, and then I'm gonna do like a heavy switch into lumber, and I think that should be, it could be potentially good. I do have too much on food right now.
And we want about 1.5 villagers on gold during this process. We're now going to take villagers off of food for the most part. 3 on food still.
4.
And the rest is going to cut trees now, as per the build order. These 3, when they're done, are also going to go towards trees.
Yeah. A little bit too much villager
Brought all the
walking
sheep
speed,
back.
but
Keep in
I
mind that you need to take
I
this
kind of
villager off
understand
sheep once she finishes the last one.
what I'm planning here.
So we now have 2 on gold. We now have enough for a lumber camp, which we will be making right here.
It should be 1 to the top left, but
I'm gonna bring sheep back.
nice
Also
sheep
villager
location.
production with 2 on gold, that's good. He can help him with the lumber camp, and then they're gonna.
Yeah, if
mine
I didn't
this
have
tree.
idle villagers and house, you could.
Now we have enough for
230
another house,
feudal.
pretty much. We're gonna make it. Non-stop villager production still. This is good. And keep in mind that our tier 2 is finishing, so we actually.
The
want
sheep are like all
second-
over the place.
The second mill right now.
And where's
so
my
that we can get
scout?
those upgrades that I was speaking about.
Don't you
gonna immediately
go
start
food, gold,
forestry
then
once
H,
the
then wood?
lumber camp is done.
Most civs, yes. But
This
for
one is gonna start the
for
second
Delhi,
build.
you can get that
Thank you.
forestry upgrade early if you start with the lumber camp early. And then you just catch up with gold
We're gonna
afterwards.
scout where the opponent is
It
as
does
well.
constitute a delay. Like I said, this is an option. I don't think, like besides the efficiency with which I execute it, I don't think this build is bad. Like it's still a decent opening. I'm really heavily leaning into lumber right now and gold. Again, this would be totally fine, except these days, the way that you use this lumber is probably by making archers, spears, or horsemen. So having this much lumber creation is probably a good thing. And not for a barracks, but for an archery range or a stable. So if you went stable, you could now be working on professional scout upgrades in the mill, get a bunch of scouts out, or you could go a bunch of horsemen. You get military efficiency in the mosque in order to use 1 unit production building as a 2-unit production building with a scholar inside. And then you would like, let's say if you're against English, at this time you would be using all that lumber that I'm going to be spending on double blacksmith. You'd be spending that on 2 or 3 unit production buildings, probably 2. You'll be making a bunch of archers and horsemen to fight off various aggressions. One day the civilization's spear brace bug will be fixed as well, and it's gonna make a lot of sense to make a scholar inside the barracks, make a bunch of spears to be safe against royal knights from French. Okay, it's also gonna make sense to make archery range and make archers to stop Mongol tower rush advancements, to fight against Mangudai, what have you. That's a lot of information. So archers against English, you're going to make some horsemen and then into archers to defend against longbow into longbow or longbow into spears. So you want your horseman archer that open up with a few horsemen to cut off reinforcements and then mass archers. In Delhi Mirror, you can actually get cute and do some horseman pressure. Maybe you can go mass archer. Like Delhi Mirror, you can do anything, right? Because it's mirror. So whatever you're doing, they're doing. Whoever's doing it better wins out. So there's no like real countering except the standard rock, paper, scissors counter. With archers being the best, right? If you're going mass archers and you see horsemen, you just add some spears. If you're going mass archer, you see archer, you're fine. If you see mass archer, you see spear, you're happy. So adding a few spears is a really small investment to deal with horsemen, and it makes them not be able to fight you anymore melee. So I would use that wood probably for a singular blacksmith initially and archers, or maybe no blacksmith at all initially and just make a bunch of units. But yeah, the earlier you can get your blacksmith out, the better it is for upgrades. My critique about the build that I'm seeing right here is that I'm fairly high on gold. And this is something that's taken me a long time to learn for Age of Empires. I'm fairly high on gold. I'm obviously planning for the future. I'm planning for going Castle Age. And I've got some cool infrastructure to try to defend me. But I'm not actually able to make units right now. Right? Like I'm making a whole bunch of scholars. But let's be fair. I've made about 500 gold not be effective for fighting. Now I am against AI. So it was always going to be a little bit unrepresentative of the kind of pressure that I could be facing. I also lacked experience of a multitude of different ways that you could die. Against English, against Mongol, against Rus, against French, what have you. But yeah, so you need to train those responses when you're playing against people. I think, obviously, it tries to invest in long-term value. But in theory, had I gained, instead of that 500 gold, if I had gotten 300 stone and 200 wood, I could throw up a second town center. Could be really nice too. That's going to make me good long-term too. Then I follow up with the blacksmith. Because now I'm getting all these upgrades, but I can't make units, like, I can't make it count because I don't have units to fight with it. Plus, what I didn't know then is that elephants don't benefit from all the blacksmith upgrades. Some, I think, but not all. So if I'm doing an elephant push, and now I'm making like random armor and attack upgrades, but I have no units to fight with it, that's greedy, that's not safe, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing when I see this. But I always knew it was not going to be like a perfect build. If you want to make the perfect build, you're not going to make any educational content in the first couple of years of a game, because you don't know everything yet. So that's totally fine. It's still really helpful. Like I teach a lot of concepts about how Delhi works. A lot of people liked this build. They said they had success with it or variations of it. At the end of the day, I'm trying to teach people how to learn how to learn the game or learn any games. And I think it probably achieved that goal. Only armor upgrade for elephants for some unknown reasons, while camels get every upgrade. Right, okay. That makes sense. So, for people are asking, is the build still good, or is it good in current age? I will say, well, let's look at the Castle Age timing at 11 minutes. It's not the cleanest Castle Age timing we know, but we did make some units, we are going for Sanctity, and it's not the slowest either. So, with that much infrastructure and upgrades, at 11 minutes, definitely not the worst. It's not the fastest, but we've got some units. But it's also not the safest into various kinds of pressure. And I hope that some of the things that I said during this video, during the making of reacting to this old video, has been helpful. Most people make their landmark with more than 4 villagers. It's kind of to get the benefit of it quicker after you make the initial rather large investment of that landmark. So 4 is rare. More often you see either 15 for Holy Romans, or you'll see like 9 for Rus or something, or you'll see like 8 for an English player, or 0 for Abbasid, because Abbasid can't speed up their landmark. But 4 is a little light. Now I would just like grab all the villagers that are next to it on the wood, and then go to it. So finally, when we get to H3, what do? Of course, we make every economic and blacksmith upgrade, and we're going to make a bunch of elephants. So when does this attack hit? Fairly late, right? Like I'm attacking now at 17 minutes. It's a bunch of spears, archers, and elephants. I mean, it is cool. I'm sure some people want games with this. My multitasking isn't where it could be because there's relics everywhere that I would be picking up now, and that's all good. Oh look, Honed Blade's complete. It's when Honed Blade's still completed very quickly. So yep, I have built for every civ. Delhi was my first, therefore the least experience, but I still like it. I still like to see it. And I think it teaches some things. Look, we're killing the AI's buildings with these elephants. So would make some changes, but some things are still good, and it teaches you how to learn a build order.